Good afternoon, BSAK, and welcome to the end of week 3 of our distance learning week. And the more I think about it, it's actually week 5 since we've seen each other because of the 2-week early break as well. So that's a considerable amount of time, and I must admit, we all the staff in the school feel they are missing you incredibly. And that's something I want to talk about today, because I think at the start of this week I found it really tough. And I think it was the realisation after the first 2 weeks, as we were moving into this is it for the remainder of the term. Oh, I'm going to let you go. Go on, off you go. Our routines, our interactions, our activities, the daily buzz of BSAK, that isn't going to happen for a considerable period. And that made me sad at the beginning of the week, and it impacted me. I felt more in isolation, even though I've got my wonderful family here. I felt it was isolated from you, and one of the reasons we go into our jobs, whatever that is because we love what we're doing. And in education, it's more a vocation than a job, and to have that taken away, that love of what we do. Taking away the interactive part of it made it really challenging for me. But like humans, and I talk about this a lot and I'll go on to it a little bit more, we're adaptable. And through the week I've received amazing feedback from parents, from students, of how work is being set and the support that they're getting, and that made me really proud. And I got great feedback as well from our teachers of how our students are coping. And again, for me, that adaptability coming through was something that we really try and work on at BSAK, and to see it live in action, or hear about it live in action, was superb. So for me, what started as a negative week with, this is how it's going to be for the remainder of the academic year, moving on to something really positive of how people have adapted, and that's what we're about. Before this terrible situation where coronavirus hit the world, I used to go to various conferences, and there was always a speaker or a keynote speaker addressing the audience, saying, we don't know what lies in the future, we don't know what's going to happen, we must prepare. And I got a little bit frustrated by this, because I kept thinking, well, we've always prepared. We've never known what's in the future. And I think this is exactly the same. We will get through this. And I think there'll be many positives come out at the end of it. But we've got to get through this situation at the moment. And I genuinely think, as human beings, we will adapt. And seeing this in action in BSAK this week has been absolutely fantastic. And as a head of a school, you can't ask for any more than that. It's not about the academic skills or abilities or how people cope in that respect. They're important, clearly, but as human beings, to show our adaptability and how we get on with things and how we make the most of things and the best of things was fantastic. So thank you to all of you, parents, students and staff, for what you've done this week, because it's made me absolutely reassured we're on the right path, but also very proud of what we can achieve together. A couple of points I want to raise this week. Really, I think you've had a lot of messages this week from the school in various guises, but the main things are that the essential curriculum over the next few weeks for the remainder of the term. In primary, you've had a half-term plan sent to you, and again, in a few weeks, you'll get a new one of those. In secondary, the essential curriculum plan has been worked on all week by staff behind the scenes, and you will be receiving that at the latest early next week. We are pushing that out as quickly as we can, and that will give both primary and secondary an outline of what the coming weeks will entail. If you, as parents, if you are struggling with supporting your child, or for students, if you're struggling with a piece of work in particular, do contact the teacher direct who has set the work. They will come back to you as quickly as they can. And remember, in a normal school day, they would be interacting with you and be able to resolve that issue very quickly, but that's not as easy with distance learning. So do get in touch, and on your parent app, you will have the details on the drop-down box for every single teacher in the school and their email address. You can contact them directly and they will come back to you. The exam students, again, I just want to give you a little bit of feedback, although I think you've had a lot from Mr. McBlain this week. So we do have a solution to the exams in terms of the exam boards have given us information. What we are now going to do is we're working through how we best interpret that and how we can get the best grade that you possibly deserve based on the work that you've done and are continuing to do. And we will be working with the exam boards to get that to them by, I think it's by the end of May. So we do have time, but that means you need to focus on that curriculum for the next 2 weeks. As we've said in a previous email, that is when this exam curriculum will finish. Then we'll have a little break and then we'll move on to something else that will be preparing you for either university if you're an A-level student or for your A-levels if you're in year 11. So bear with us, but keep working. That is the main message for year 11 and year 13. Keep focused for those 2 weeks. One of the things we focused on this week with staff is to reach out to them if they're struggling, and that's not just on the work front, but if being in this situation of isolation. So again, as parents, normally you would have that opportunity to reach out. Please do. We can't physically be together, but I know any of us would be happy to chat over a Zoom meeting or whatever forum we can use to support you. Please rest assured you are not alone. We are all trying to help, and I think the strength of BSAK is by us as a community coming together and helping each other for whatever needs are necessary. So please do not be afraid to reach out. And finally, have a good weekend. Turn those screens off, as I'm going to in a minute when I press this stop record button, and do make sure you have time as a family to relax as a family, because we know the daily stresses of work, balancing that with supporting students and students getting on with their work and continuing along their essential curriculum is challenging. So make sure you take some downtime with the weekend. And that's it from me. But finally, stay safe. Thank you.